The United States Constitution was written in 1787. Old as it is still referenced in modern day because it is the groundwork for our government. Without it, we would have no government today. There are 7 principles that the Constitution follows. The first is popular sovereignty, meaning that the people choose their government. The second is republicanism. Republicanism allows the people to vote for representatives who share views with them so that they may be represented in the government. Federalism, the third principle, is where the states and the country share governing power. The federal government takes priority over the state, but states can choose their own laws otherwise. Through the fourth and fifth principles of separation of powers and balance of power, each branch of federal government has its own purpose and no branch is more powerful than the other. The sixth and seventh principles, limited government and individual rights, make it so that no one is above the law, and each person has a set of guaranteed freedoms that no one can take away respectively. The Constitution begins with the preamble, which is arguably the most important part of the document. The preamble introduces the purpose of the Constitution and the new government. The very first 3 words introduce the important idea of self-government, we the people. After the preamble comes the articles. Article 1 establishes the legislative, or lawmaking part of our government. It makes our government a representative democracy, aka a system where the people elect representatives to vote for them. It also establishes the 2 branches of this system, the House of Representatives and the Senate. The powers the Constitution gives to the legislator are as follows: collect taxes, borrow money and pay debts, make rules for how to become a citizen, regulate commerce, aka trade with other nations, between the states and with tribes, coin money and punish counterfeiters, establish post offices, give patents to new inventions, create the lower federal courts, punish pirates, declare war and support an army and navy, and make any other laws that are necessary and proper to carry out the powers in this list. One half of our Congress is the House of Representatives. Each state is given a certain number of representatives in the House, but it is determined by the population of the state and varies between them. For example, Maine only gets 2 representatives in the House, but California is allowed 53. Maine has a much smaller population than California, which is why it gets less. The term length for a representative in the House is 2 years. The other half of our Congress is the Senate. Unlike the House of Representatives, each state is only given 2 senators that serve 6-year terms. This means there are always 100 senators in the Senate. Article 2 describes the executive branch, led by the president and tasked to carry out the laws created by the legislator. This article also explains the qualifications to be president, how a president is elected through the Electoral College, punishments for presidents who abuse their power, and the powers of this executive branch. The powers of the president are as follows: act as commander-in-chief of the armed forces, maintain a cabinet which runs the 15 executive departments, grant pardons and postpone punishments, negotiate treaties with other nations and represent the United States, appoint ambassadors, Supreme Court judges, federal court judges, and cabinet members, make a State of Union address to Congress, and make sure laws are executed properly. Article 3 establishes the judicial branch. The judicial branch interprets laws and decides whether they have been properly followed in certain cases. It creates the Supreme Court as well as permits Congress to create other federal courts underneath the Supreme Court. It also guarantees a trial by jury and explains the crime of treason. Article 4 makes it so that the states have the power to create their own laws and explains how states should interact with each other. Article 5 states that the Constitution can be amended or changed. Article 6 makes it so that if a state law conflicts with a federal law, the federal government will always win. Article 7 states that the Constitution could not be used until 9 of 13 states had approved it. As mentioned before, the Constitution can be amended. The process is long and arduous, though, and has only been completed 27 times since the writing of the Constitution. An amendment has to be passed by 2/3 of both houses of Congress, then formally approved by the legislators of 3/4 of the states. As for the bill to law process, it goes as such. The bill is introduced. Several committees review and revise it. A committee report on the bill is published. The bill is debated on in the Senate or the House. If they approve the bill, it moves to the chamber it hasn't been in yet, so if the Senate approves it first, it goes to the House and vice versa. If both houses approve the bill, it is sent to the President for approval. Now on to the Bill of Rights. These are the amendments that give every citizen certain rights that cannot be taken away. The First Amendment states that every citizen has 4 freedoms: the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, and the right to protest. That means that you as a citizen are allowed to say things about the government without being arrested for it. You can practice your own non-violent religion without prosecution. The news can also speak about the government without being arrested for it, and you can protest non-violently. The Second Amendment gives you the right to bear arms, which means you can own certain weaponry. The Third Amendment says that the government can't force you to house and feed soldiers. The Fourth Amendment states that the government or law enforcement can't search or enter your home without a warrant. The Fifth Amendment gives you 3 related rights. The right to not self-incriminate, meaning you can be silent when arrested and when in custody until you can speak with your lawyer. The right to not be tried for the same crime twice, aka double jeopardy. And the right to not be imprisoned unlawfully. The Sixth Amendment gives you the right to a speedy trial and one with a jury. The Seventh extends the right to trial by jury in certain civil disputes, and the Eighth prohibits excessive fines or bails as well as cruel and unusual punishment. The Ninth Amendment states that no one's rights will infringe upon another's. And finally, the 10th Amendment gives each state powers that are not specifically assigned to the nation's government in the Constitution. As you can see, the Constitution is incredibly important and still very relevant today. It's important to learn about it because it establishes the government you as a citizen live under and your rights. You should now know just about everything you need to know about your rights and your government.